This is the Savage FINcast, the show that Peter David calls Hulk with a FINcast. The show that is like a boomerang to the jugular. The show that can never have enough experience points. The show lost at sea without a compass. The show surrounded by Kirby dots. The show that's just rolled out of bed. The show that gives you what you want, when you want it. The show that drops a boot off the top rope. The show that is fashionably late. The show that spends all afternoon staring at the sun. The show that can't stop, won't stop. The show that's does the stuff that does the thing. The internet's only #1 source for all your Dino Cop news. Wait, coming to you live from the center of the earth. The show that puts the spicy in the buffalo. The show that goes over and above. The show that will Google that for you. The show that knows that dress is blue and black. The show that even we sometimes need technical support. The show you get for free. The show that always fails to keep a promise. The show that promises is not cheating on you with another podcast. The show that will never turn heel.
Broadcasting live to you from Dimension X.
The show that puts up with way too much. The show that has been two men for too long. The show that gives you a strange sensation of deja vu. The show that is produced by speaking into microphones. The show that is a dog that scares itself with its own farts. It's a show that's never afraid to do it twice. The show that is too goddamn old for this shit. The show that's pretty sure the world is round. The show that just carried half his home up and down the stairs. The show that can't think of anything to say that's funny. The show that snowed in on 2 continents. The show that spent an hour and a half trying to get his PC fixed for this show. The show that didn't ask for this. The show that was Hydra all along. The show that no longer sounds like a pile of shit. The only show dedicated to Marvel's Inhumans, Triton. The show celebrating 25 years of Savage Dragon. The first episode in a bold new direction. The show that can tune a fish, but you can't tune a piano. The show so big it blots out the sun. The show with a TV network budget, not a feature films. The show that goes beyond Plus Ultra. The show that is live from New York at Saturday night. The show that's more interesting than Twitter. The show that is emphatically sure the Earth is a cylinder. The most ambitious crossover event in history. The show that's like finding the complete run to a random comic book in your local bargain bin. The show that sticks to you like sweat in summer. The show that's in a big goddamn hurry. The show that just got back from a Comic-Con and boy is its arms tired. The show which is like a bill you've been putting off for months. It's the show that something. This is the Savage FINcast, and I'm here to say, my name is Jim Purcell. This is the Savage FINcast, the show that promises nothing and delivers less. The show that ain't nothing to fuck with. The show that comes from the net, through systems, peoples, and cities to this place. The Savage FINcast. The show your mother warned you about. The show that really should have written these jokes down so he doesn't repeat them in the future. The show that just rips out the back of your pants.
The show that always has blood in its nostrils. The show that still has blood in its nostrils.
Not easy, is it, Raven? It's the show that is actually reading a comic book while he says this.
The podcast that's on a half shell.
The show that's a little green in the gills. The show that is shivering in his shorts. The show that has got a frog in his throat.
The FINcast that's totally tubular, dudes. The podcast that has clack, 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 clack technology arms. The podcast that loves a good color hold. The FINcast, or podcast, that, does the thing. The podcast that's been chained in a basement too long.
Coming at you live Saturday morning. The show stuck on unemployment. The show that knows to stay 6 feet away from anyone else.
The show that has mistakenly been beaten up by Supreme yet again.
The show that plays solitaire with a deck of 51.
Your ugly Superman.
The show that's like an octopus with a shotgun.
The show that washes its hands for more than 20 seconds.
The show that if you cut us, are we not cake?
The podcast that's ready to reopen America.
The show, think about getting into some AMSR. The show that comes from the net, through systems, peoples, and cities to this place. The audio show coming to you in crisp 4K HDR. The show that's feeling a bit oozy. The show that sold its soul to Malbolgia. The show that's like a sneeze you kept catching your nose. The show that has a lot to say about drinking hot Coca-Cola. The show that needs this like you need a hole in the head. The show we hold in our heart. Did this thing fall apart?
The FINcast that never got its Halloween issue. The FINcast that is very reminiscent of John Byrne back when he was good.
The show that gets absolutely pissed because you cannot find anything on Facebook.
The FINcast that is the living embodiment of the anger and frustration of housewives overworked by inconsiderate husbands and ungrateful children.
The show that henshin a go-go, baby.
The only podcast that draws like John Byrne.
The show that pee-pee poo-poo at the butt. The show that spent $90 on action figures today and is feeling kind of messed up about it. The show that really wishes that he had written down some joke he thought of a week ago but didn't, and now you get to listen to this.
The podcast that mysteriously disappeared to never be heard from again.
The show that if you die in the podcast, you die in real life.
The only podcast trademark that trademark brings you trademark. The trademark, classic trademark, Savage Dragon trademark, issues trademark. The show that's ready to enter She-Dragon.
The show that doesn't buy into conspiracy theories, but does find it odd that there's been no mention of birds in the historical record before the year 2002. The show that's strong to the finish because we eat our spinach.